The night sky was silent, broken only by the cold wind moving through the ruins. The alien girl lay in the shadows of a broken wall, her body weak, her breath slow, her clothes were torn, her skin pale, and her large, glowing eyes were filled with pain and fear. She had been left behind, abandoned by her own people after their mission had failed. They had no use for the weak, and she was weak. Her hands trembled as she tried to crawl forward, but she had no strength. Hunger pressed on her stomach, and thirst burned in her throat. She remembered the ship leaving without her, the faces of her people turning away. No one cared. No one had stayed. She was alone on this strange world, and the darkness felt endless. The ruins around her were filled with danger, sharp metal, broken glass, and the faint sound of creatures moving in the distance. She was too tired to run, too broken to fight. Her heart beat slower and slower, her vision blurred. She thought this would be her last night. She thought she would die here, forgotten and unloved. But then, in the silence, came footsteps, at first soft, then closer, heavier, steady. Her eyes widened, fear rising in her chest. Was it an enemy? A raider? Someone who would finish what her people had started? She tried to move, but her body would not answer. All she could do was wait. From the darkness, a figure appeared, a human man, tall and worn, his clothes dirty from travel. He carried a small light that flickered against the walls. His eyes were sharp, scanning the ruins for danger. He did not expect to find her, but when the light fell on her small, broken form, he froze. For a moment, he said nothing. His face was unreadable. His eyes studied her. He could see she was not human. Her features were strange, her skin too pale, her eyes glowing softly in the dark. He knew what she was, an alien. One of the people who had come and fought and then vanished. The ones humans feared, the ones blamed for destruction. The man stepped closer, his boots crunching softly against the ground. She tried to speak, but only a weak sound left her throat. Her voice was broken. Her body shook with fear. She expected him to turn away. She expected him to leave her, just as her people had. Instead, he knelt beside her. His eyes narrowed. His breath was heavy. He reached out a hand, not touching, but close, as if he was testing his own choice. Help her, or leave her? That was the question in his heart. The girl's eyes filled with tears. She could not beg, but her eyes spoke for her. They said what her lips could not. Do not leave me. Please, I do not want to die alone. The man looked at her for a long moment. His jaw tightened. His heart was heavy with doubt. He knew taking her would be dangerous. If others found out he had saved an alien, they would call him a traitor. They might kill him. He could leave her here. Let fate take her. No one would know. But he could not. Something inside him refused. He saw not a monster, not an enemy, but a broken child, alone and dying. He sighed, his voice low. You don't deserve this, he whispered, and his hand finally touched her arm. She flinched, expecting pain. But there was none. His grip was strong but gentle. He slid one arm under her back, another beneath her legs, and lifted her slowly. She was light, fragile like glass. Her head rested against his chest, and for the first time in days, her body felt warmth. Her eyes closed, tears still on her cheeks. She was too weak to understand his words, but she felt the choice he had made. He would not leave her, not tonight. As he carried her through the ruins, the wind howled around them. The shadows stretched long and dark. Danger still waited. But for the girl, there was now one small light in the endless night. She had been abandoned by her people, but a human had refused to let her die. And with every step he took, the story of survival, hope, and a strange new bond began. The man carried the alien girl through the ruins. His arms ached, but he did not let her fall. Her breathing was shallow. Every rise and fall of her chest a reminder of how close she was to death. The night was cold, and the ruins were filled with dangers, but he walked with steady steps. He did not know why he had chosen this. He had seen her kind before, always distant, always dangerous. They came from the sky with weapons and strange machines, and when their mission failed, they left without care, leaving scars on the world. Yet here she was, one of them, helpless and broken, and here he was, a human who had no reason to help. The man's name was Aaron. He had once been a soldier, fighting in the war that tore across the cities. He had lost friends, brothers, and the home he once knew. The war had ended not with victory, but with silence. The aliens vanished, leaving wreckage and grief behind. Aaron had survived. But survival was not the same as living. Now, holding this alien girl in his arms, he felt something stir inside him, a feeling he thought long buried. She was fragile, almost weightless, and though she was alien, her trembling reminded him of the orphans he had seen after battles, children with no one left to care for them. He found an old shelter hidden beneath collapsed beams. It was a place he had used before, safe from raiders and wild beasts. He laid her gently on a piece of cloth, her glowing eyes barely open. She tried to speak, but only a whisper came. He leaned closer, hearing nothing but broken sounds. "Don't," she tried to say. "Leave." But the words cracked apart. Aaron shook his head. "I'm not leaving," he said quietly. His voice was firm, not only for her, but for himself. He gave her a small canteen of water. Tilting it against her lips, she swallowed weakly, each drop keeping her alive for a little longer. He broke a ration bar into small pieces, placing a crumb on her tongue. She chewed slowly, her body trembling, but her eyes closed in relief. For hours he watched her, listening to the wind outside. His hand rested near the handle of his weapon, ready if raiders came, but his eyes often drifted back to her. She was different from how humans described her kind, not proud or cruel, only broken and afraid. When morning came, sunlight filtered through cracks in the shelter. Aaron studied her again. She looked younger than he first thought, perhaps barely more than a child. Her skin was pale, marked by faint lines of silver that glowed when light touched them. Her hair was tangled, but strands shimmered faintly as if carrying starlight. She was alien, yes, but there was something strangely human in her weakness. She stirred, her voice stronger than before. "Why?" she asked softly, her words broken but clear enough. Her glowing eyes looked at him with confusion. She wanted to know why he had not left her to die. Aaron paused, staring at the floor. He did not know how to answer. He thought of the past, of all the death he had seen, of the choices he had made. Finally, he looked at her. "Because I couldn't walk away," he said. His tone carried no pride, only truth. She blinked slowly, her eyes wet. No one had stayed for her before. Not her people, not her commanders, no one. The warmth of his words struck deeper than the food or water. Hours turned into days. Aaron cared for her, bringing water, scavenging food, keeping the fire low to stay hidden. She was weak, but little by little, she improved. She began to sit up, to whisper a few more words, to watch him as he worked. One night, when the fire burned low, she asked again, "Why help me? Human hate us." Aaron's eyes narrowed. He thought of the war, the destruction, the fear. She was not wrong. Many hated her kind. Perhaps he should too. Yet when he looked at her, he did not see an enemy. He saw someone who had been abandoned, just as he had been abandoned by the world. "Not hate," he said quietly. "Hurt, yes, but not hate." He met her gaze. "I help because no one helped me once. I will not do the same." Her lips trembled. She wanted to speak, to tell him her story, but fear held her back. Still, she whispered, "Thank you," and her eyes softened. But safety was only an illusion. Beyond the ruins, dangers moved, raiders searching for survivors, hunters seeking supplies. They had heard rumors of strange technology left behind, and they would kill to find it. One evening, as Aaron returned with food, he saw movement in the distance, silhouettes moving between broken walls. His instincts sharpened. He hurried back to the shelter, his heart heavy. Inside, the girl looked at him, sensing his fear. "What?" she asked. "Trouble," he said simply. He put his finger to his lips, signaling silence. She nodded weakly, pulling the blanket closer. Her heart pounded. She knew what happened when raiders found the weak. She had seen it before. Aaron crouched near the entrance, gripping his weapon. His eyes narrowed. The raiders searched the ruins like hungry wolves. Their voices echoed through the broken walls, boots crunching against stone and glass. Aaron held his breath, pressing his back against the shelter wall. The alien girl lay still under the blanket, her glowing eyes hidden, her body trembling. "Check everywhere," one voice growled, harsh and cruel. "There might be supplies, maybe even tech. We take it all." Aaron gripped his weapon tightly. His mind raced. If they found the girl, they would kill her without hesitation, and they would likely kill him too. He glanced at her, her small frame shaking. She was not strong enough to fight or run. It was all on him now. The footsteps came closer. Aaron could see the shadows stretch near the shelter entrance. His heart pounded. He raised his weapon slowly, ready for the worst. But then, the raiders moved past, their laughter fading. They had not looked inside, not yet. When silence returned, Aaron exhaled slowly. His muscles ached from tension. He turned back to the girl. "We can't stay here," he whispered. "They'll come back." Her lips parted, and in a weak voice she asked, "Where go?" Aaron looked at the broken world outside. There were no safe places, but he knew of an old bunker several miles away. It had been abandoned after the war, but he had once used it as shelter. It was hidden, stronger than this place. He packed quickly, sliding food and water into a worn bag. He wrapped the girl in a blanket, lifting her into his arms again. She was stronger than before, but still too weak to walk long. The journey was slow and dangerous. They moved through ruins where buildings leaned like dying giants. The air smelled of rust and smoke. Aaron kept his eyes sharp, listening for raiders, listening for beasts. His steps were careful, but each sound echoed in the empty city. The girl rested against his chest, silent. Her mind replayed memories of her people leaving her behind, the ship rising into the sky while she cried out. No one had turned back, no one had cared. But now, this human carried her, his arms steady, his breath heavy but determined. At night, they stopped in a small corner of a ruined house. Aaron lit no fire, afraid of drawing attention. He gave her water, broke his food ration in half, and pressed the larger piece into her hand. She shook her head weakly, pushing it back. "You need," she whispered. Aaron gave a short laugh, though his eyes were tired. "I've had worse," he said, placing it back in her hand. "Eat." She chewed slowly, her glowing eyes never leaving him. In her world, strength meant survival. Weakness was discarded. Yet here was a human, giving her food even when he had little. His actions confused her, but also warmed her. The next day was harder. They walked through areas where old machines lay in pieces, broken ships rusting in the dirt, scavengers picked at the metal, and dangerous creatures nested in the shadows. Twice, Aaron hid with the girl as strange beasts prowled past, creatures with long limbs and sharp teeth. By the third night, her strength began to return. She could sit without shaking, her voice a little stronger. She watched Aaron as he cleaned his weapon, his face hardened by years of survival. "Why alone?" she asked suddenly. Aaron looked at her, his jaw tight. He hesitated before answering. "Lost everyone," he said simply. His tone carried pain. "War took them." Her heart ached at his words. She knew loss too. She knew the weight of being left behind. For the first time, she felt a thread of connection. The following morning, they reached the edge of a valley. Down below lay the old bunker, half buried under rubble. Aaron studied it carefully, making sure no raiders or beasts guarded the area. Satisfied, he guided her down. The bunker door was heavy, rusted but still strong. With effort, he pulled it open. Inside was dark and cold, but safe. He laid her down on a makeshift bed of cloth. Here, for the first time, she felt a sense of safety. Her voice was faint, but her words were clear. "You stay?" Aaron gave a short nod. "I stay," he said. She closed her eyes, tears forming. For so long she had been abandoned, left to die. Now, for the first time, she believed someone would remain. But outside, the world was not silent. The raiders had seen tracks, faint prints leading away from the ruins. Their leader crouched in the dust, his eyes narrow. "They're not far," he growled. "We'll find them." The human and the alien girl thought they had escaped danger, but in truth, the struggle for survival had only begun. The bunker was dark, lit only by a faint lantern Aaron had salvaged. The air smelled of rust and dust, but to the alien girl it felt safer than the open ruins. She sat against the wall, her glowing eyes watching every move Aaron made. He worked silently, checking his weapon, counting food, dividing water. His movements were sharp, disciplined. He had lived too long in a world where every mistake meant death. For days they stayed hidden. The girl grew stronger. Though her body still carried weakness, She could now sit upright without help. She whispered words in her own language when she dreamed, sometimes waking with tears in her eyes. Aaron never asked about those dreams. He only handed her water and sat nearby, a quiet guard in the silence. One evening, as wind howled outside, she tried speaking again in broken human tongue. "Name?" she asked softly. Her voice trembled but carried curiosity. Aaron looked up, surprised. For a moment he hesitated, as if his name was a relic he had buried. "Aaron," he finally said, his voice low, steady. "My name is Aaron." She repeated it clumsily. Ron. The sound strange in her mouth, but she smiled faintly. Lyra, she added, pointing to herself. Aaron gave a short nod, repeating, "Lyra." He let the name rest in the air, soft but certain. It was the first time she had told anyone her name since her people left her behind, and hearing it spoken by him felt like a spark of warmth in her chest. From then on, their words grew slowly. He taught her simple human terms: water, food, fire, safe, danger. She repeated them with effort. Sometimes she laughed softly when she mispronounced, a sound Aaron had not heard in years. It was strange, fragile, yet it eased the weight on his heart. In return, Lyra shared little pieces of her world. She drew lines in the dust, showing stars and symbols from her people's maps. She whispered the names of planets, her glowing eyes bright with memory. Aaron listened, not always understanding, but respecting the depth of her stories. One night, as he repaired his knife, Lyra asked quietly, "Why help me?" It was not the first time she asked, but this time her voice was steady. She wanted an answer she could hold. Aaron stared at the blade in his hands, his jaw clenched. He thought of his brother, who had once begged for help on a battlefield. He thought of the silence that followed. He had not been fast enough, strong enough. That guilt lived in him every day. Finally, he answered, "Because I could not save him." His voice cracked, but his eyes stayed firm. "I will not fail again." Lyra's breath caught. She reached out a weak hand, touching his sleeve. She did not have words, but her gesture spoke. She understood. The bond between them grew, not fast, but strong. They shared food, shared silence, and sometimes, when the fear outside grew heavy, they shared quiet smiles. For Aaron, it was the first time in years he felt less alone. For Lyra, it was the first time she felt chosen, not discarded. But peace never lasted. Raiders had followed their trail, slow but relentless. One afternoon, Aaron heard distant shouts carried on the wind. He moved to the bunker entrance, scanning the horizon. Figures moved among the ruins, armed and hunting. His heart sank. They were closer than before. He hurried back inside. "We need to move," he said sharply, packing quickly. Lyra's eyes widened with fear. She tried to stand, her legs weak, but Aaron steadied her. "No," she whispered. "I slow you." Aaron shook his head, his eyes fierce. "We go together." His tone allowed no argument. That night they left, moving through shadows. Aaron guided her with one hand, his weapon ready in the other. Every sound made his body tense. Every echo could be danger. Lyra leaned against him, each step painful but determined. As they crossed the ruins, they came across an old courtyard filled with shattered glass. The moonlight reflected against the shards, making the ground glow faintly. Lyra paused, staring down at the broken pieces. Her reflection stared back at her, fragile and small. She whispered, "They left me because weak." Her voice cracked. "Maybe true." Aaron turned, his face sharp. "No," he said firmly. His hand rested on her shoulder. "They were wrong. You are alive. That is strength." Her eyes filled with tears. The weight of his words pressed against the years of rejection. For the first time, she believed she could be more than abandoned. They moved again, but the shadows behind them grew longer. Raiders were closing in. The bond between human and alien was real now, but the world would soon test just how strong it could be. The night was heavy with silence. Aaron and Lyra moved quickly through the ruins, but shadows followed them. The raiders were close now, their voices echoing faintly in the distance, laughter sharp and cruel. They were hunters, and Aaron knew hunters never gave up until prey was caught. He guided Lyra through broken alleys and shattered doorways. Her steps were weak but determined. Sweat beaded on her pale skin. Every few steps she stumbled, and Aaron steadied her without slowing his pace. His mind burned with one thought: keep her alive. They reached an old marketplace, stalls long destroyed, the ground littered with rusted metal and bones. Aaron crouched low, scanning the horizon. Lyra clung to his arm, her glowing eyes wide. Then, a voice boomed in the distance. They're here? I see them. Aaron's heart sank. Shadows rose from the ruins, raiders with weapons, their eyes sharp with hunger. Their leader stepped forward, tall and scarred, carrying a rifle slung across his back. He grinned. Look what we've found, a human traitor and his little alien prize. Lyra froze, fear locking her body. Aaron moved in front of her, weapon raised, his jaw clenched. Stay behind me, he whispered. The raiders spread out, circling, their boots crunched against rubble. Their leader tilted his head, mocking. Why protect her, human? She's nothing. She's the enemy. Give her to us, and maybe we'll let you live. Aaron's grip tightened. His voice was steel. Not happening. A tense silence fell. The raiders laughed, cruel and sharp. Then, without warning, they attacked. Gunfire shattered the quiet night. Aaron pulled Lyra down behind a broken stall. The wood splintered under bullets. He returned fire, his shots sharp and precise. 2 raiders fell. The others dove for cover. Stay low, Aaron shouted, his body moving on instinct. Years of war guided his hands. He fired, shifted, fired again. The marketplace became a storm of smoke, fire, and shouting. Lyra's heart pounded. She pressed her hands against the ground, feeling useless. Her people had abandoned her because they thought she was weak, and now, here she was, hiding while Aaron fought. Tears burned her eyes. But something stirred in her chest, a faint glow spreading through her veins. Her body remembered things her mind had forgotten, fragments of training, fragments of power. She raised a trembling hand, and faint silver sparks flickered in her palm. Aaron grunted as a bullet grazed his arm. He ducked low, blood staining his sleeve. He fought on, but he was outnumbered. A shadow moved behind him. Another raider, knife raised. Behind you, Lyra cried. Her voice cracked, but carried. Aaron spun, slamming his weapon against the raider. The fight turned brutal, blades and fists in the dust. He struggled, but the raider was strong. Then, light flared. Lyra's hand glowed, a burst of silver energy striking the raider's chest. The man screamed, thrown back against a wall. Aaron froze for half a second, staring at her. She panted, her hand shaking, the glow fading. More raiders charged. Aaron pulled her closer. Stay with me, he shouted. Together, they pushed through the chaos. He fired. She tried again, weak sparks dancing from her fingers. Each time the glow burned her strength, but each time it saved him. The raider leader snarled, rage twisting his face. Enough games, he roared. He raised his rifle, aiming at Lyra. Aaron saw it too late. Time slowed. Aaron lunged forward, pulling her down as the shot rang. The bullet tore past, striking stone, dust exploding. Aaron rolled, shielding her body with his own. His breath was harsh, his eyes sharp. He fired back. The leader staggered but did not fall. The raiders regrouped, still too many. Aaron's weapon clicked empty. His jaw tightened. He looked at Lyra, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Run when I say, he whispered. No. She shook her head fiercely. Not leave you. Aaron gave a faint, pained smile. Then we fight together. They stood side by side, human and alien, broken but unyielding. Raiders closed in, weapons raised. The night was fire and shadow. The fight was not over, and survival was uncertain. But in that moment, they were no longer alone. And for the first time, Lyra felt it. Her life was not just being saved, it was being fought for. That truth gave her strength. The marketplace burned with chaos, but inside that storm, a bond had been forged in blood and fire, stronger than fear. The night was fire and smoke. Raiders surrounded them, their laughter cruel, their weapons aimed. Aaron and Lyra stood together in the broken marketplace. He was out of bullets, his arm bleeding, but his eyes stayed sharp. Lyra's body trembled, faint silver light flickering in her hands. She was weak, but her heart refused to break. The raider leader sneered, stepping closer. You can't win. Human, give me the alien, and I might let you crawl away alive. His scarred face twisted into a grin. Aaron's jaw clenched. His answer was steady. Over my dead body. The leader's grin widened. That can be arranged. He lifted his rifle. Before he could fire, Lyra raised her hands. Light flared. A thin beam of silver shot from her palms, striking the ground near the raiders. Dust exploded, forcing them to scatter. Her body shook violently, pain burning through her. She gasped, nearly collapsing, but Aaron caught her. Easy, he whispered, pulling her behind a wall of stone. Bullets cracked against the rubble, sparks flying. Aaron knew they were trapped. He looked at her pale face, her glowing eyes dim. Stay with me, he said. Don't give up now. She swallowed hard, whispering, they will kill you, leave me. Aaron's voice was fierce. Not happening. I told you, I don't leave people behind. His gaze softened. Especially not you. The raiders closed in, shouting. Aaron checked his weapon again. Empty. His knife was all he had left. His body was exhausted, but his spirit burned. He looked at Lyra, his mind racing. Then he made a choice. I'll draw them away, he said firmly. His hand gripped hers tightly. You run, find the bunker again, hide there. Her eyes widened in horror. No, Aaron, you can't. He cut her off. Listen to me. If they catch us both, we're finished. But if I distract them, you have a chance. His eyes locked with hers, filled with determination. Promise me you'll run. Tears filled her eyes. She shook her head. I can't leave you. Aaron gave a faint smile, pain and warmth in his expression. You won't. Not really. I'll always be with you. Before she could protest again, he stood, knife in hand. He moved fast, breaking cover and charging into the open. The raiders shouted, startled. Bullets flew. Sparks filled the air. Aaron slashed at the nearest man, dropping him with a brutal strike. He fought like a storm, wild and unyielding. Lyra screamed his name. Her hands glowed again. She forced her broken body to move. She could not let him fight alone. Energy surged from her palms, striking another raider. The man fell back, crying out, but the effort drained her. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. Aaron saw her fall, rage burning in his chest. He pushed harder, knife flashing, fist striking. He was only one man, but his fury made the raiders hesitate. They had expected easy prey. Instead, they faced a soldier who refused to surrender. But numbers wore him down. A rifle butt struck his side. A blade cut his shoulder. He stumbled, blood dripping. His vision blurred. Still, he stood over Lyra, shielding her with his body. His chest rose and fell heavily, his voice a growl. You want her? You go through me. The raider leader stepped forward, aiming his rifle, his grin cruel. Then die with her. Time slowed. Aaron spread his arms slightly, protecting Lyra. He knew the shot was coming. He was ready. But then, something happened. Lyra's eyes snapped open. Her fear turned to fire. Her body glowed brighter than before. Silver light surged from her like a wave. The ground shook. Raiders stumbled back, blinded. The leader cursed, shielding his eyes. Aaron turned, shocked. Lyra was glowing, her veins alight. She screamed, and the energy burst outward, throwing raiders against walls, shattering stone. The air crackled with power. When the light faded, the raiders were scattered, groaning, some fleeing into the night. Silence fell. Smoke drifted through the broken marketplace. Lyra collapsed fully, the glow fading from her skin. Her chest rose weakly, but she was alive. Aaron fell to his knees beside her, his body bleeding, his breath ragged. He pulled her into his arms, whispering, You did it. You saved us. Her eyes fluttered open, weak tears on her cheeks. No, she whispered. You saved me. Her hand gripped his sleeve, trembling but firm. Never leave me, promise. Aaron held her close, his voice steady despite his wounds. Promise. In the ruins, among fire and smoke, human and alien had survived. But survival came at a cost. Aaron's body was broken, Lyra's strength nearly gone. Yet together they had fought, together they had lived. The world outside would not stop hunting them. But in that moment, they were not prey, they were survivors, bound by sacrifice, bound by something stronger than fear. The ruins were quiet after the storm. Smoke curled from broken walls, the ground scarred with burns where Lyra's power had struck. The raiders who survived had fled into the night, leaving behind silence. Aaron knelt in the dust, his body shaking from wounds. His arm bled freely. His breathing was rough, but his grip on Lyra never loosened. She lay in his arms, her skin pale, her glow faint but alive. "Stay with me," he whispered, his voice raw. He brushed a strand of shimmering hair from her face. "You're not done yet." Her eyes fluttered open, weak but filled with light. "Aaron," she whispered, her voice cracked, but his name was clear on her lips. For her, it was more than a name. It was safety. It was the promise he had given her. He tried to stand, groaning with effort. His legs trembled, but he lifted her once more. "We can't stay here," he muttered. He staggered through the ruins, carrying her despite his pain. Each step was heavy, but he refused to fall. Hours passed. The sky turned gray with dawn. Aaron finally reached the bunker again. He pushed the door open with his shoulder, dragging himself inside. He laid Lyra on the bed of cloth, his chest rising and falling like thunder. She turned her head weakly, eyes following him. "Why still?" she asked softly. "You bleed. You hurt. Why not leave?" Aaron gave a broken laugh, sinking against the wall. "Because I told you," he said, his eyes steady despite exhaustion. "I don't leave people. Not anymore. You're not alone. Not while I breathe." Tears blurred her vision. She had been abandoned by her people, discarded like nothing. Yet this human, broken and scarred, refused to let her go. In his weakness, she found strength. In his pain, she found hope. Days passed. Aaron's wounds healed slowly. His arm remained bandaged, his body scarred, but he endured. Lyra recovered too, her energy returning. The glow in her veins steadied, no longer wild. She practiced in secret, trying to control the sparks in her hands. Each time Aaron watched, his lips curled in the faintest smile. One night, as firelight flickered inside the bunker, Lyra sat close to him. Her glowing eyes studied his tired face. "You saved me," she whispered. "Not once, many times. You fight for me when even my own left me." Aaron looked at her quietly, his eyes softened. "You're worth saving," he said, simple but true. Her lips trembled. She reached out, placing her hand over his. Her touch was warm. Her voice was steady for the first time. "Then I save you too." In that moment, their bond became unbreakable, no longer just protector and survivor. They were partners, bound by something greater than war. But the world outside was not finished. Raiders still roamed, and whispers spread of an alien girl alive. Some would hunt her for what she carried. Others would hunt him for protecting her. The danger was far from over. Aaron knew it. Lyra knew it too. Yet when they looked at each other, fear lost its power. The next morning, Aaron stood at the bunker door, watching the horizon. The city lay in ruins, the world broken, but a faint light touched the sky. He turned to Lyra, who stood at his side, her eyes glowing softly. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded, her voice strong despite all she had endured. "With you." Together, they stepped out of the bunker, human and alien, survivors of betrayal, survivors of war. The world saw her as abandoned, forgotten, but now, she was no longer alone. She whispered to herself, soft but fierce, "They left me to die." But one human refused. And with each step into the rising sun, hope walked beside them. A new beginning had started, not for one, but for both.